Back in May, the writers went on strike due to the changes in their pay and length of work contracts. Now, the SAG AFTRA contract with AMPTP has ended and they are going on strike because they could not reach an agreement. In this video, I will recap the Writers Guild strike and then cover the SAG AFTRA strike. We will start with the alphabet soup and break down the meaning of the acronyms. WGA, the Writers Guild of America. This is how they describe themselves. We are the Writers Guild of America West, WGAW, a labor union representing the thousands of creators who write scripted series, features, news programs, and other content. SAG AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. They are quoted as saying, "We are actors, announcers, broadcast journalists, dancers, DJs, news writers, news directors, program hosts, puppeteers, recording artists, singers, stunt performers, voice-over artists, and other media professionals. Our work is seen and heard in theaters, television, and radio, sound recordings, the internet, games, mobile devices, home video. You see and hear us on all media distribution platforms. We are the faces and the voices that entertain and inform America and the world." AMPTP, Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The AMPTP, in their words, has been the trade association responsible for negotiating virtually all industry-wide guild and union contracts, including those with American Federation of Musicians, AFM, Directors Guild of America, DGA, International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW, Laborers Local 724, Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG AFTRA, Teamsters Local 399, and Writers Guild of America, WGA, among others. The Writers' Strike. Historically, writers were hired for long-term projects or permanently, as in the case of news writing. The long-term projects are the television shows and movie franchises. This changed when the streaming services started making their own movie and series content. Instead of waiting every week on a particular day to watch the next episode, you can now pull up a streaming service and binge an entire season of episodes. While broadcast television has 18 to 22 episodes a season, streaming services only have 8 to 12, according to the Hidden Remote website. The catch is that there is not a set number of episodes per season. This has led to some shows having 8 to 10 episodes. Streaming services have led to the creation of quote-unquote mini-rooms. These are defined as scaled-down writers' rooms that hire fewer writers for shorter periods of time and often pay less. They go on to say, quote, "In a mini-room, a small group of writers typically work with a showrunner to break down the season's plot points and work on scripts, which are finished without them." Unquote. Mercedes Today article. What is the impact? Before we begin this portion of the video, I need to define a term. MBA minimum. MBA, as defined by the Writers Guild of America East, the minimum basic agreement is the collective bargaining agreement that covers the benefits, rights, and protections for most of the work done by WGA members. Unquote. This agreement can be found linked in the description and was effective from May 2, 2020 to May 1, 2023. It included provisions and raises for streaming services as well as network pay. You may have seen the claims of pay decreases that were 23%. This is actually 4%, but was adjusted for inflation to be 23%. According to Deadline, this strike is costing California $30 million a day. This was when WGA went on strike. Though many people across the U.S. rolled their eyes and braced themselves for another onslaught of reality shows, the WGA came with a new set of demands. Pay to compensate them for the elimination of residual pay. They are putting forth, quote, regulations regarding artificial intelligence, preservation of the writer's room, minimum pay for streaming, and guaranteed number of on-the-week jobs writers per a WGA agreement, unquote. Lindsay Lowe Today article. If you're wondering how much one got paid, Valencia Garza, who wrote for Wednesday, Only Murders in the Building, and Jane the Virgin, shared a picture of her residual check on Twitter. Yes, that's a check for 3 cents. It was for 2 episodes of Jane the Virgin. Strike will end. Historically, The WGA has gone on strike in 1988 over residuals and 2007. While I get ready for the next segment, I will leave you with this. The SAG AFTRA situation. No agreement has been reached between SAG AFTRA and the AMPTP. Although no formal announcement has been released as of uploading this video, a strike is on the horizon. If this changes, I will be posting a follow-up. A letter of referendum was sent to all members of SAG AFTRA. It named the organizations included in the negotiations and asked the members to vote. 98% of the members agreed to the authorization of a strike in case there was no agreement reached. Contract expires but is extended after SAG AFTRA and AMPTP reached an agreement. The contract expired. Quote, union leaders and the AMPTP agreed on May 11th to meet with the federal mediators to possibly hammer out a deal before the current contract expires, according to SAG AFTRA. Unquote. Teddy Grant, Will Carr, Abigail Shalalo, and John Hayworth. No agreement is in sight, and due to this, SAG AFTRA's chief negotiator, Franz Drescher, was quoted, "Despite our team's dedication to advocating on your behalf, the AMPTP has refused to acknowledge the enormous shifts in the industry and economy that have had a detrimental impact on those who perform labor for the studios." The AMPTP said that the former walked away from quote-unquote historic pay, quote-unquote residual increases, quote-unquote higher caps on pension, and other key demands. What are the demands? An increase in minimum pay rates, an increase in streaming residuals. Neither of the above have kept up with inflation. Royalty payments are no longer reliable. Transparency and protection of likeness from AI. This includes how the likeness will be used. Compensation if their body or work is used to train AI. They assert the streaming services, which have shorter seasons that are stretched out, has had the effect of less work for actors. SAG AFTRA has a history of boycotting and striking. 1980, boycotting the Emmys for an increase in minimum salaries. 2000, 6-month strike over commercial appearances. 2012, SAG and AFTRA merged and went on strike against game developers. 2018, strike against Bartle Bogle Hegarty, a global advertising agency who stopped honoring the contract with the union. 2021, Trump was barred for not providing a peaceful transfer of power to Biden. What does this mean? Any and all productions that were not stopped when the writers went on strike will be halted. Overseas productions will feel the impact. My 2 cents. It is clear to me that the streaming services and AI are not being received well, and I, for one, can understand why. In this era of binging shows, deep fakes, and training AI to do everything from having a conversation to producing art and beyond, the demands of both unions are reasonable. No one wants to be paid pennies for hard-earned work, and no one wants their likeness or a facsimile of their writing to be used to promote something they don't endorse. I would guess they don't want their likenesses or work to be used after they've passed on, either. That being said, the residual checks could be disappearing because streaming services are prone to leaving up series and movies on their service for months on end, if not making them a permanent fixture, as on anime sites and services like Hulu. However, in recent years, the decline of revenue due to less people consuming the media has led to less revenue for the industry. The reason for the decline is due to the lack of quality regarding the writing in the movies and series in question. It seems to me the more the writers are on strike, the less shoddy writing will be produced, but that will not help the industry as a whole, seeing how Hollywood and Disney ignore the legitimate complaints from the people who consume the media. During the editing of this video, they did go on strike. There will be a part 2 that will cover the back and forth from CEOs and the actors, as well as the impact of the strikes on the industry and entertainment as a whole. In the meantime, let me know if you agree or disagree below in the comments section, and I will see you in the next episode of Geek News.